Grinding day and night, I need a vacation. Bring my little baby, it's a vacation. I get some bands and I get some bands and my little baby, yeah. I get some bands and I get some bands and my little baby, yeah. I get some bands and I get some bands and my little baby, yeah. I get some bands and I get some bands and my little baby, yeah. It's not tricking if she's yours, so no, I'm spending, yeah. If I got it, then she got it, tell her spend it, yeah. What I own and know she owns enough and rent it, yeah. If I'm dipping, tell her slide, it's no question, she gon' ride. Tell her count it up, make sure it's all there. We were down and out, this gon' be all, yeah. I get some bands and I get some bands and my little baby, yeah. I get some bands and I get some bands and tell her spend it, yeah. I get some bands and I get some bands and my little baby, yeah. I get some bands and I get some bands and my little baby, yeah. I get some bands and I get some bands and my little baby, yeah. I get some bands and I get some bands and my little baby, yeah.
All right, good morning, happy people. Welcome to another edition of the High Five. Today we're talking, I called it the sales professional, because Brian Linke and I are going to have a one-on-one conversation. I have 5 questions and maybe a lot of follow-ups that we're going to talk about from a man who has more experience and success than anyone else in our company on when it comes to one-on-one sales. So we're going to learn about that. It's a great Friday. It's a great day to be part of the High Five. Let's get started. Let's make this the best Friday, May 15th. That's ever happened. Let's roll.
The time has come, the questions are set. Opinions high, discussions are there. Show about nothing and everything, it's all the same. With our voices in sales and marketing. Time for the high five. It's time for the high five. We got it all covered, yeah. The high five.
That's right, everybody. It's time for the high five. But I would never do the high five just by myself. I need to have a co-pilot at least. And Mr. Danny Sharp, well, he's out, today. So I have the best opportunity. This is really fun. When you get to be one-on-one with the man, the myth, the legend, the one who actually has sold more products probably than I have ever bought, which is nearly probably impossible, but I'm pretty sure it could possibly be true. Mr. Brian Linke, how are you, sir? How are you, sir?
I'm really well, Nate. It's Residual Friday. It's weekend is upon us, and it's an exciting day. It's an exciting day to be with PayProTech.
It is. And so let me, I can see we do this through Zoom, then I stream it out to 5 billion places. That's how you guys are seeing it publicly if you're watching it. But one of the things I can see is that, Brian, we're missing, getting a little breakup. So we're not going to let the internet gremlins get our best. We're going to keep giving the content. So one of the things I want to do is I had created 5 questions. I typed them up quickly last night, sent them over to Brian, but I'm sure I'm going to stump him at some point with some follow-up questions. We'll see. But I'm interested, Brian, you have more experience than any of us at this. What's the sale? Can you remember a sale at some time that surprised you that you just didn't think you were going to get and you got?
It's an easy one. My very first one. It was when I was working in New York City. I was selling long distance. Cable and Wireless was the name of the company. Sprint, MCI were our competitor, AT&T. And back when there was the war on who's got cheaper cents-wise, I can't remember what it was. But the very first cold call I ever did, I walked into this locksmith on 47th Street, and I think it was like Fifth Avenue. It was like right in the heart of Midtown Manhattan, and I walked into a place called Wurzel Locksmith and sat down with the guy. And by the time I walked out of there, I don't know, about 45 minutes later, I had a signed deal on my very first sale. So my very first cold call. So that was probably the most surprising sale I ever had. So that was 100 years ago. Recently, within the last 5 or 6 years, there's since I've been in this business, there's a company out in San Diego is a towing company, and we had an agent who is no longer with us, and he did some shady things. Sold the guy some terminals, never paid for them. I think it was like 20 VX680s. I called up the merchant, made him a deal, told him if he sent the terminals back, we'd cut him a check for half of them. Did that. You would think that the guy would be so angry. By the time I got done with him, it was about a 2-hour phone call. Got him signed up. He's a 3-location account now. Just talked him into cash discount. He's doing about $100,000 a month in each location. So that was probably the second most surprising sale I've ever had.
I love it. Let's talk about the second one that you mentioned specifically. When you're in that 2-hour conversation, and it's across the country, and so it's just by phone. I'm assuming it wasn't a FaceTime call, and you're having to overcome an obstacle of overcoming someone else's wrong in our industry. And specifically here in our company, which is the worst of the cases, what was important there to be able to overcome that?
Right. Honesty, plain and simple. As much as what happened was this agent, and again, I'm not sure how this ever happened. It could never happen today, just because of the way the company is run today with you and Billy and Danny and Paul and Matt Hoskins. We sent him 20 VX680s, and again, it would never happen today, right? We would never. In order to get that many free VX680s, I don't know. You'd have to hold Matt Hoskins to knife point or something, right? So, but we did it. Somehow we did it, and that agent went ahead and sold those terminals to the guy, to the merchant, and the guy talked the guy into writing him a personal check. How this happened, again, it's the most bizarre thing ever. But anyway, so he did that and never paid us. So he basically made the money. And once we found all this out, I called the guy and I just basically told him, I said, as bad as you feel and as broke as you are because of the situation, Papertec is in the same exact thing. Right, there are terminals. We sent them to the agent. He sold them. We never got paid for them. Just like he was out the money, we were out the money. And I just told him. I said, so I went to Billy West and I sat down with him. We explained the thing, and I said, here's my plan. I want to call the guy up, and I want to just tell him. I just want to be honest with him, which is what I did, and I want to offer him if he sends them back. They've never been opened, never been used. We will cut him a check for half, and we'll both, cry in our cereal together, right? And that's what happened. I called the guy back a couple of days later, and somehow, some way, after a couple of hours, talked him into continuing to process with Papertec, and that has evolved now into 3 cash discount accounts where six-figure accounts, and it's been he hasn't been the easiest guy to work with for sure, because he doesn't have a lot of patience. It's a towing company, and I'm sure he's inundated with people all the time, and nobody's ever happy, right, if you get car towed. But so that's what happened.
So I would imagine that a lot of this comes down to just being there, being present, and not stopping. Is when it comes to fixing problems like this for you, have you learned? Is there a time to give a cool off period, or like you did a 2-hour conversation? How do you read when they just need they need to vent because they've been wronged and we've been wronged and everybody's been wronged and you're sitting in these situations? But in sales, that happens all the time, no matter what you're selling. By the way, for those who are watching that may not know what a VX680 is, which I saw one of the comments on one of my watch parties here, it's just a more expensive piece of equipment than, especially when Brian was talking about this. Now we have pieces that are more expensive, but it was a significant, thousands of dollars of investment that we made a poor decision back then, but Brian saved it. Brian, how do you read when they just need to cool off, or maybe they just need to vent? How do you read that?
Well, again, that's a great question, and I'm not really sure there's a clear-cut answer. However, when you're talking to somebody who has been wrong, like you said, you just, for one thing, the first thing that you can't be scared to make the phone call. Okay, because nobody wanted to make that call. Nobody wanted to call that guy and have this conversation after he, was basically, let's not sugarcoat. He was ripped off, right? He was ripped off by the agent. The agent, and then the agent left, and everybody was out. So the first thing you can't do is be scared to make the phone call. And then while I was talking to him, you just, again, have to let the merchant speak. And if you're willing to listen, you'll earn more trust than you could ever imagine. And once that happens, then you have it. And again, it was, all over the phone, never met the guy. I keep on threatening him that I'm going to come out to San Diego. And I probably would have, before this pandemic, I probably would have gone out there. Billy and I joke about it all the time. Getting on an airplane and going out to see the guy, which is going to happen. But yeah, he's become a really profitable account, and he's happy. We're happy, and he's not paying any fees anymore. And on a $100,000 merchant, his fees were $2,000, $2,500 a month, something like that. I can't remember what it was, but and he's not paying him anymore. So it's been a good thing.
I love it. So let's next question for you, Brian. You've sold a lot of things over the years. You mentioned long distance. I know you sold office technology equipment. Obviously, you're selling point of sale systems and merchant services now. Have you ever been offered to sell something that you're like, hey, no, I'm just not going to do that. This is not something in my MO that I'm going to be part of?
Okay, so that's funny you should ask that question because, again, back in the day when I first started out, I interviewed with this company, and they never told me what it was that I was going to be selling. I just went, I interviewed with a guy, and they never told me anything. They had me meet him at a McDonald's. I can't remember what it was, but anyway, so I got in this van with these people, and they started driving around, and all of a sudden they'd run into a gas station. I followed in there with them, and they opened up a what was it, like a felt thing with a bunch of fake gold chains on it, right? And I looked at them like, okay, this is what these people are doing. They're selling like fake gold chains to people in gas stations. I'm out. And I actually had them just drop me off right then and there before cell phones. And I wasn't anywhere even close to my car. And I can't remember, I think I hitchhiked back to my car at the time. So that was probably the one thing, selling fake jewelry into a gas station. And then the second thing was, again, I met with a guy, and he wanted me to sell pools down in South Florida. Back when I moved back to Boca Raton, and he was not selling pools. What he was selling financing to older people, elderly people. Say, hey, we can put this pool in your backyard for $100 a month for the rest of your life. Similar to, I don't know if anybody's ever seen the movie Tin Men, right? Where it's the aluminum siding salesman, where it's the before and the after. You don't want to be the before, you want to be the after. Right? Doesn't matter how much it costs, but those were probably the two things. The financing to sell the pools at, who knows, I think it was like 80% interest or whatever crazy thing it was, and the fake jewelry into the gas stations.
So what I'm hearing is that you make the choice based on, one, your own integrity of things that you can choose. Do you also choose things to sell based on how you know it is to sell it? Have you ever thought about selling something? That's just too much work to sell that thing. Or is it just, you can sell ice to an Eskimo? So, hey, no matter what it is, I can sell it. I just need to figure out whether it's something I want to sell based on my own integrity.
I've never been scared to sell anything, Nate. I mean, so that's the answer to that. But yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, I think a little bit, higher of myself. than to be like the fake gold chain guy into a gas station, or trying to rip people off that can't afford a pool in their backyard. I mean, there are certain things where like you have to just draw a line and say, okay, you know what, I'm just not comfortable doing that, and that's the answer.
So when you're doing when you're in a sales job, life can get overtaken by your job, because you could always be selling, especially when you start selling nationally. There's no period of time where you couldn't be in contact with someone, couldn't be doing an email, couldn't be doing a phone call, couldn't be. But I'm wondering, in all your years of this in sales industry, has there been a time where you had to choose not doing the sale because, you know what, this thing, family, friends, something else was more important, and you lost that sale, you lost that close and that opportunity because you had to choose something that was more important?
Absolutely. And this is an easy one. The day that both of my boys were born, I can remember like it was yesterday. I actually had, on both days, I actually received phone calls from I can't even remember what it was I was selling at the time, but these people wanted and I didn't return the call because we had some problems with my younger one, and with my older one, we had, nothing was easy with the Linky Boys, right? So it didn't just happen. And I lost both sales on both of those days, May 31st, 1991, and June 20th, 1997, right? On both of those days, and I called both of those customers back the next day, I think it was, and basically, cried to them about like, hey, you know what, like my kids were born, and they didn't care. And that was when, remember we talked about like, when is the time to fire a customer? Okay, at both of those times, I made my decision. Okay, why would I want to deal with somebody like that in the first place? I mean, if you can't see past, okay, my children are born, and give me a little bit of leeway there, then I don't want to deal with you anyway.
And those are things I think you have to preset that decision. And I'm sure there are things that would happen today, like, well, anything with Brenda, Zach, Ben. Anything with any of
Jacob,
yep.
Jacob, don't get Jacob.
I've only had a year to get his name in there, and I haven't, but all those things are things that take him up. What do you think when you look at people as our sales partners, and you talk to a lot of them every week, and they call you up, they're frustrated, they're excited, whatever they're doing, where are they missetting their priorities most? When it comes versus the sales, family, balance of life, making sure they do the right things, where are they missing the point or missing the mark when it comes to setting these priorities?
Well, PayProTech is a family first company, and you ask Matt Hoskins, you ask Billy West, you ask Danny Shard, yourself included. I mean, Nate, with your 3 kids, I've been on plenty of trips with you where you had to cut the trip short to get back for a swim meet or for a cross country meet or something like that. So I think if you, and again, we all, we're in sales, right? I mean, so we're all greedy. We all want the sale. We all want the money. We all want to know why, there was a bonus buyback. I mean, we all want to know these things. We all look at our residual. We woke up this morning, the first thing we did was look at our residual. But I think if you put family first, and again, this is what Matt Hoskins and I, from the very beginning, day one, when I learned that about him and he learned that about me, as long as you can put family first ahead of everything, I think it's a win.
I totally agree. And one of the things, let me throw that in there. One of the things that I was thinking about when it comes to this, Brian, is that family is important. And I want to also, I forgot to put Jacob in there. I do have 4 kids, not 3, in case my kids ever watch this. I want to make sure they know that I have 4.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
I have 3, you have 4.
Yes. So now, one of the things I wonder when it comes to this is, do you remember a no that stands out? Maybe it's a thorn in your side still. And what did you do to learn from it? What was the next step after you had that no and you didn't get the sale you thought either you really thought you get or you really, really wanted?
You know, when I saw this question, when I read it this morning, I just started laughing. Because, as a salesperson, and again, I'll be 58 years old in August. So, and I've been in sales since the day that I stepped off the campus in Tallahassee in 1985. So the simple answer is, I don't remember. And the reason that I don't remember is because I've had so many no's that I can't even remember. To count how many is depressing and mind-boggling, to say the least. However, the thing about sales is, if you're going to let the no's, and again, I don't remember, and again, I tried to think in the half hour, 45 minutes before we got on this thing about was there a no that I can remember ever receiving? And the answer is no, I don't remember, because there are so many of them. However, you have to pull yourself up off the mat, and to make yourself a successful salesperson, the no's can't bother you. And the fact that I don't remember any no's, really, because they're all intertwined in my book, makes me a better salesperson.
I love it. And I think that becomes what. In order to be successful, you have to be able to shake it off, and you got to be able to move forward. And not to quote Taylor Swift, though she's probably a great salesman, but you got to shake it off. Okay, now I'm done. But you've got to make sure that those no's turn into yeses down the road. How do you learn? How do you make sure you evaluate losses in order to turn it into wins next time?
I just think the simple answer is by keeping yourself on an even keel, because sales is such a rewarding job, right? When you sell something, you make money because of what you're doing. It's such a rewarding job. But I just think the answer is again, and I hate to keep on repeating myself, but you just can't let it bother you. You just can't. You just kind of have to keep going. And again, it's very, very easy to take things personally, right? To get your feelings hurt. Happens to me all the time. It's still to this day. The difference is, you just have to, maybe it's time to start drinking. It's time to start getting a beer. It's time to, let's go out to dinner. Let's do something else to get your mind off it, and then get out of bed the next day and not worry about it, and hit the pavement, and let's go sell something.
I love that, and I think this kind of bridges us into the next question. And I already know, because you shared with me earlier your answer, and I love your answer to this. How do you reward yourself, Brian Linke, when you have a big win, when you get that big, maybe the biggest sale you've had in a while, or of all time? How do you reward yourself? How do you celebrate when you get those big wins?
Again, this is one that brought a smile to my face when I first read the question. And I was trained by a guy in New York City who may have been the greatest salesperson in the entire world. His name was Jim Daly. I've tried to find him. I'm not done looking, but he taught me never ever, because I think there was an instance, and again, it was 100 years ago, where I came out of a sale, and he was with me at the time, and I was hooting and hollering, and I took the contract, and I was like running down Fifth Avenue with it, and he stopped me and basically scolded me right on the spot. And he goes, for as happy as you are right now, okay, there's going to be a time where it's going to go the exact opposite way. Right? It's going to go against you. You're going to think you're going to walk in and it's going to be a slam dunk sale, and you're not going to get it. The key to sales, sure, you want to reward yourself. Okay, I don't have a problem with it, because I love rewarding myself, in a lot of different ways. However, in sales, I just think that, you can't get too high no matter what it is. When I got this towing guy, Okay, I mean that was an unbelievable day for me. You know, and especially when we did the cash discount thing, that was even a more unbelievable day for me. But again, as happy as I am about it, I just tell myself, you know, okay, that's great, but let's move on. So when something, you know, goes against you, and it's going to, you're not going to get it's not going to be a yes every single time. And there's going to be plenty of disappointment. And again, you know, for a lot of people, sales is not the right thing. Go get an office job, go get a salary job, 9 to 5. And, but I just knew right off the bat that wasn't for me. But this guy, Jim Daly, taught me you can't get too high and you can't get too low. And if you want to celebrate that residual check, I remember he told me that he got his first commission check was a $7,000 check. He took that check and he went and bought a car. And he rewarded himself that way. I'm a little bit more responsible than that. However, you know, I still like the nice things in life. But again, if there's any advice, not too high, not too low. Let's keep at it. The attitude's got to remain good, and because people will read if it's not. Right? People can tell whether or not. Danny Shard, holds me accountable just about every single day. Like if I'm not, on top of my game, and you don't hear the excitement in my voice. Okay, Danny Shard knows it every single day and gets on me about it every single day, and I do the same thing to him.
It's about making sure. The other thing that I know and hear the thread. It's so much about surrounding yourself with people that are going to make you better. And I have to tell you, Brian, every time you tell stories about you in Manhattan, and yesterday you were talking about being in Hell's Kitchen, and I just have a picture in my head that you were like the early 80s Mad Men, and I just have a picture of you running around. It probably wasn't even realistic, but it's a good picture.
No, believe me, what you were thinking is exactly what happened.
That's awesome. All right.
Right now, because again, that was back when I had energy. Okay, that was back before the 5 knee operations. That was back when, so if there was a light on in the building, my claim to fame in New York City, I cold called every single office in the Empire State Building and every single office in the World Trade Center, because I just was less, it was a numbers game, right? So and nothing scared me. I got kicked out of plenty of buildings. I took the elevator. I'll never forget it in the Empire State Building from floor to floor to floor. And the elevator guy, and I don't know if they still have those guys, but there are guys that sit in the elevator. And you walk in and he'll ask you what floor, and he'll push the button for you. But I was escorted out of the Empire State Building more than once. But yeah, no, I was the maniac. I was there at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I was on the subway on the way home with 2 tall boys in my jacket, and got home, went to bed, out the next day, same thing.
I love it. And it shows how the world has changed, because you couldn't, like in any of those buildings you just mentioned, you couldn't get to one of those offices without getting tackled by a security guard on the first floor, Absolutely. Or even getting to the elevator anymore. I mean, it is a different world.
Right. One of my greatest lines ever was when somebody said, "Didn't you see the sign that said no soliciting?" And I would always say back to them, "Oh, so I'm really sorry. I thought it said no smoking." And move on. So yeah, you're right. You can't do that today, right? You can't do that today, and everything's changed. This was before the internet. This was before cell phones. This was for all of that. I was the king of finding every clean payphone in New York City and every clean public restroom where you didn't have to go in and buy something. Again, today it's a little bit. Well, I don't know if the payphones even exist anymore. But shoving orders in payphones all day long, right? Checking my messages, calling in to the office to get my messages from the girl answering the phone. So yeah, it's a different world today. But you know what? It's still the same. It's still the same. We're still selling. We're just selling in a different way.
Yep. All right, let's close it out, everybody. Get some music going in here. Brian, this has been fun. 30 minutes of high five. We did more than 5 questions. And we're becoming better people every day, getting better, and we're learning a little more. And it's great if you have not talked to Brian Linke, if you are a sales partner or thinking about being a sales partner with PayProTech, Brian is one of the people that you need to have on speed dial. He always says, "Hey, I've got you," and he does. He takes care of you, and make sure you know how to get a hold of him. Brian.
Blinky at payprotech.com. BLINKY at payprotech.com. My direct line to my desk, 574-376-2347. If I don't answer it, I promise you I will call you back.
And he will. All right, Brian, it's coming into the weekend. It's going to be a good weekend. We're 2 weeks away from Memorial Day. I know the weather is warmer. I know late last night I was outside and I'm wearing shorts today, and it's life's picking up. What do you say to our partners? To get excited, to get going on May 15th. We're almost halfway through the month.
I can tell you this, okay? The world has struggled during this pandemic, right? I mean, panic has set in all over the place. I will tell you this right now. We just got the numbers back in March. They were really, really good. Haven't seen April's yet, but the projections I was told this morning are better than we thought they were going to be. The deal count yesterday that we did was higher yesterday than it has been in the last month and a half. So things are getting much, much better. They didn't drop off nearly what we thought they were going to. But like I said, the deal count yesterday was at an all-time high for the last 60 days. Today's going to be another great day, and we're just going to keep rolling. And so get out there and sell. Things are good. Things are good at PayProTech.
Oh, yeah. So on that, ladies and gentlemen, we close off. And we say thank you for watching. Thank you for being part of the High Five community. Danny and Brian will be back on Monday morning as we have all kinds of great things to talk about next week. We're going to have some special guests throughout, but it's been a great week. We're halfway through May. Let's go. Let's get going. Have a great weekend. We love you. And let's say high five, everybody.
High five. Have a good weekend.
The high five. Yeah. Have a great weekend. We'll see you then.